yoga completely changed my life. I really tried to navigate my mental health the traditional way. I did try medication. I did do psychotherapy, which I highly recommend. It immensely impacted and supported me. But when I went to my first yoga teacher training in Bali, I was able to gain tools and practices to change my physiology. And that was invaluable. It helped me to respond to my feelings of anxiety and depression in a way that took me out of fight or flight. And then I didn't have to make such intense choices like self-harming, which is what I would do when I had anxiety because it was such an intense feeling. I then learned how to use my breath. I learned that having a daily practice is essential for me to connect to the realest part of myself, the part of myself that welcomes it all while knowing I'm beyond it. That is essentially what my daily practice does. It allows me to rest in the unchanging part of myself. And so I did a 200-hour yoga teacher training and I started practicing hatha yoga every single day, which I love because it's the sun and the moon. My teacher's philosophy is that you have to study the moon before the sun can rise. And he was basically speaking to the fact that you need to be able to move slowly to witness your internal state and all the fire that's already within you before you then add even more fiery practices and blast yourself out of your brain with pranayama. And that's exactly what I needed because there was just so much anxiety is like the same as excitement physiologically. And there was so much heat and fire. And so to be able to move so slowly in my practice, to be able to watch my shaking hands and feel like my core on fire and just stay in a downward dog for like 5 minutes or a twist and watch the heat rise and breathe beyond it. That was a practice for life because then when I had anxiety, I could watch it and take another deep breath and another deep breath until it started to ease. And that's when I really started using spiritual practice to create spaciousness. And I would start every morning by doing a yoga practice, pranayama, and meditation. And over time, that's actually what ended my anxiety. And I just want to share this really simple breathwork practice of extending your exhale. That will activate your parasympathetic nervous system and begin to calm you down if you are having anxiety. And I would just inhale for 4 counts and exhale for 8 counts, and within minutes be able to release my panic attack. And that felt like the start of the rest of my life, learning that the length of your breath is the length of your life. And for me, it felt like my breath was just my anchor into the present moment, into my connection to spirit, into what was real. And over time, my practice has evolved. I did a second yoga teacher training doing Ashtanga yoga, which also felt like medicine to me because it is that fire that I like. And after I did feel a bit more stable, I really invited feeling like I could be in my power. For me, that's how Ashtanga felt, is like being really strong, in my power, warrior-like. And it's a series that you do every single day, and you can refine how well you do each posture. And I did that for many years after just every single day, sadhana, spiritual practice, wake up. I felt like I had to be so connected to my daily practice, and I almost attached to it in a way because I was like, this is my medicine. If I don't do this, I will have way more anxiety today. And I'm really proud of myself for doing that and being slightly dogmatic for myself. In fact, when I went to the mental hospital in high school, that's the one takeaway I got, was to have coping methods at the end of the week. They didn't put me on any more medication because I really didn't want to be, but they gave me a paper and they just asked me to write down what my coping methods were. And I wrote what I thought were them at the time. And I've integrated that from my spiritual practice of like, if I have anxiety, I do breath work. If I feel sad, I do a tapas, like fiery asana practice. And so I had these sort of like practices that I could use to facilitate this ongoing outpatient treatment of my sadness, and was a little bit dogmatic about it, but it served me up until a point. And this past 2 years, I feel like my practice has expanded into anything that brings me back to that deep sense of knowing, anything that connects me to that unchanging place. And so it could be an hour of yoga, or it could be an hour of breath work, or chanting, or painting, or lovemaking, just any doorway that brings me back to the part of me that knows. And I really like where I'm at now with my practice because it feels so much more easeful and natural. And I'm also not punishing myself if I don't do it. Like, I would feel bad about myself if I didn't do my daily practice back in the day. And what I realized is that a lot of the second part of my healing outside of like hospital and medicine was about somatic feelings in my bodies, bringing joy, bringing safety, bringing ease as an experience in my body. And now that I've gone past the point of having anxiety attacks, I feel like my practice can be flexible. I'm just inviting joy and ease and play. And that is like a holy, sacred thing to do. And that's enough.